All right. So I was kind of just thinking about doing some more interesting ones that I also hold on, I realized when I made the when I made the let me move it away. When I made the one about driving, first off, I fuck I hope it's not I have to like hold it like this. I think it's better. Because I noticed, number one, I was saying a million times. If there was a drinking game where every time I say you take a shot, people would have been dead in a minute, probably. I just kept going, you know, like, it's just like, why did I do that? And then second off, I noticed I was like, when I was talking, I was like talking directly into the mic, I think, kind of like this. And then every time I like kind of exhaled too much, I'd be like, and it would just fucking. Did it make it peak? I don't think it made it peak, but it was fucking bad. It was stupid. Why did I do that? So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to hold it. I've been kind of like thinking, should I get an actual microphone for these? And I don't know if I want to or not. I'm kind of debating on what I want to do with that. Because on the one hand, like maybe I just get a cheap mic and like it probably is number one, it's probably better than a phone mic, and number two, it probably won't have those issues. But then I'm also like, the point of this was to be low effort, and I feel like having to bring a fucking microphone with me makes it a little less low effort, I guess. So it sounds weird, a little less low, but you know, I I don't want to put too much effort in these videos because then it kind of starts to become this cycle of perfection again. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So, anyways, uh, oh yeah, okay. I remember. I was like, wait, what was I talking about for a second? I totally got off topic there. Anyways, the whole thing I was hoping to talk about today is kind of the problems I have with programming, which is ironic because I'm a computer science student who generally has done pretty well with programming. It's not like I don't understand how to code, but it's more of it's hard for me to want to code, if that makes any sense. Uh I I really just struggle with being able to do that because I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure every single computer science course I've taken, I've gotten an A. Like every single one has been good. Especially, I know in college, I'm pretty sure yeah, well, yeah, because I only got one B in the entirety of college. I think it was a B plus too, even. Other than that, everything was an A. And the way that it worked where I was, it was just if you got a 90, you got an A. So I uh I didn't I didn't have any issues with that. Even there was that one like discrete math class I had to take, and it's supposed to be kind of based for like computer science, but like it sucked. That class sucked. That was a terrible class. I hope I didn't just do it again. I'll try not to exhale into the mic repeatedly. But I didn't I didn't particularly enjoy that discrete math class, but it was fine. It was something. It was an experience. And the thing that I really uh hated about it was the fact that we had to have like webcams on. God, it's a whole. I've talked about everything that isn't what I was supposed to be talking about, but I guess it's just I guess that's how it is sometimes with these. Uh, I yeah, I that class sucked because we just had to have our webcams on to like show that we were, you know, paying attention, but like it just felt so weird. Like it's weird when you just have something that's on you, like a camera that's on you, that technically people probably aren't watching you the whole time, but it feels like people just have their fucking eyes on you the entire time, and it's like I don't want to fucking make any weird movements or anything. Especially whenever like you take like a test or something and you're on webcam, it's like I don't even like. What if I itch my leg and then they think, "Oh, he's fucking cheating." That shit. Oh, I hated that. That class kind of sucked. And then also our final was like one problem, and it was not very fun. Anyways, though, I still got an A in that class, so no big deal. But I got completely off topic. Back to what I was actually talking about. Uh, I have never had any problems, particularly with programming. Like, and the thing is, too, is it's not like, oh, well, I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. It's not even that. I do actually enjoy doing, coding stuff because to me, at least the way it feels to me, it kind of feels almost like a puzzle sort of game in a sense, where it's like you have to find the solution and you have to use the tools that you're given to find that solution. And the thing I also love about programming too is it like it's different for different people. Like some people will achieve problems achieve solutions in a certain way, and then other people will do it in a completely different way. And it's kind of just fascinating to see that. You know, I think it's cool when puzzles can be solved in different ways, and that kind of coding kind of embodies that to a whole extra length because there's technically like an infinite amount of ways to do so, or maybe not infinite, but near infinite amount of ways to tackle a particular problem, which is cool. But the problem that I have with programming in general, it's just that it's hard for me to like have something to do. I would like to, work on like a portfolio or something. And I kind of have over the years. Like I've kind of like I've tried making games and stuff, but it's just I never I never could finish them, which I'll come back to the topic of games later because that's kind of a whole other part to it. But when it comes to just programming, like basic programs, not even talking about games, it's like, what do I make? That's the problem I always run into. What the fuck do I make? That's why I can never. Also, it's fucking cold. I'm turning off the air conditioner. That's why it's so difficult to make stuff most of the time for me. Because, like, okay, what am I gonna make? Like, a calculator? I'm gonna make, uh, I don't know. See, that's the problem. What the fuck do I make? I guess I could just go on Google and find, like, programming challenges or something, I guess? But that's I think where kind of the problem comes in because the next part of what I'm going to talk about is when I can get into something, I get like really into it. There was um there was a project I had to do for a terrible object oriented programming class where the whole time throughout my time in college, they were teaching us C++, which C++ is maybe not the greatest language of all time, but it's a pretty decent language. Then then randomly this class just becomes Java. And I was really lucky in that class because I actually knew a lot about Java because of what I'll talk about in a little bit too. I knew a decent amount of Java, and so when we had to do this really terribly thought out project where um we had to do he literally just said do a program or make a program with a a user interface, a graphical user interface using Swing, I think, or I don't know if he specifically said Swing or if it was just in general, just make a program with a graphical user interface. I know he said we could even use like other libraries and stuff, but it's like he didn't teach us any of that stuff, and he didn't even teach us, you know, how to make a graphical user interface in Java in general. He basically just expected us to go and like learn a bunch of extra shit when he wasn't even putting the bare minimum in the class. You know, he wasn't even he would skip out on most of the lectures. I think he had something going on in his life. I'm not really going to speculate, but you know, it was just very annoying. But in that class, when I had that project, or when we did that project, I was really the only one who knew anything about Swing. I had another team member that was trying his best to kind of understand. He made something that I would say was pretty decent. But, you know, I was the only guy who really knew anything about making graphical user interfaces in Java and all that. I had familiar with a lot of the Swing component stuff. So I was basically working my ass off to make that, and kind of, I guess it did kind of help a little bit with the object-oriented stuff, because that kind of really taught me a lot about the object-oriented portion of it, because I basically made probably 90% of the project, I would say. I basically made 90% of it, and then I just put some other people's names on it, because I mean, it was kind of a fucked up project, to be fair. But I basically gave people the code that I made and was like, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for, you know, just maybe change one or two things and, you know, put your name on it. We'll call it a day. But I basically did that whole project, and I would work on that shit a lot. And I even went above and beyond. Like, I didn't have to do certain things, but like I made a versus computer mode, and then I gave the computer like levels, and so like based on the level, it would have like, you know, a 90% chance to make like the optimal move or something like that, or like a 0% chance to make the optimal move. It would just make a random move or something like that. It was actually a pretty good program, I think, for how things went. But I worked a lot on that, and like I was passionate about it because I wanted it to be good, you know? There's a, you know. But to be fair, I think that's probably one of the better ones. Better times to say that phrase. But anyways, though, I generally am pretty passionate about that stuff, and especially where I learned a lot of things from initially. I had like one computer science course in high school, and then they taught us Java there. I knew a little bit of Java beforehand because I remember I made like this one Minecraft mod, and I literally just followed the tutorial and just coded exactly what the other dude coded, but I changed some of the names. But I knew a little bit of Java from high school, and then senior year of high school, just like 2 years after I took this computer science class, I just randomly started like trying to learn more stuff in Java. And one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a funny like cookie clicker game, because you know it's simple, and like I was just figuring out how to use the GUI stuff that I was talking about, like Swing and stuff. So I figured out how to make a button, and I was like, oh, I could make a cookie clicker game. But instead of a cookie, I took a drawing that I made of a friend, and I what's it called? I just put that on the button, because you can like put a texture on the button or something like that. And I put that texture on the button, and then from there I just ended up making a game, basically this shitty version of Cookie Clicker, with my friend's face on the button, and just using a bunch of the inside jokes we had from that like senior year, like junior senior year period of time. And it was funny. But I actually like worked on it a shit ton. I I was really working on it. I remember there were days where I would literally just spend like 8 straight hours just coding it, just trying to learn shit. It was cool. It was actually really cool. Even though it was a terribly made game, and maybe someday I'll talk about it in more detail. It was a bad game. Like, it was not made well, but it did function kind of. I didn't even really know how to do certain things because obviously it wasn't really like, made to be a game. It was kind of just using like GUI components from Java itself, but you don't really make a game that way. So it wasn't really a great functioning game, but I mean it kind of worked. But the problem that I had with that was I started out with something basic, the cookie clicker thing, and then I like turned it into this fucking like WarioWare boss battle thing. And then after I did that, I was like, okay, I finished the boss battle. And I was like, let's make a phase two. So then I started a phase two, and then I never finished it because I just kind of ran out of steam. I probably spent about like 2 months working on it. Yeah, around 2 months. And then I kind of just stopped. So that was basically what happened. But I I did enjoy that experience a lot, but ever since then I've never really had that level of passion to put into coding something. And I kind of the thing that experience taught me is like I think the best way for me to learn personally is to make games because that way you get to kind of see more of what you do, I guess, if that makes any sense. Basically, when you change something, when you add something, you can like see the effects of it. If you add like a fucking button in a calculator, it's like, wow, you added a button in a calculator, great job. Now it does this thing. When you change something in a game, like you can feel it, like, you make the movement better, or maybe you change the way that uh the physics work so that maybe you can like coyote jump or something. I don't know, but basically you can feel the effects of what you do way more in a game because there's actually like things going on the screen compared to when you are just doing some shitty calculator or whatever program. It feels a lot better to make games, but the problem with making games, which I didn't really get to overcome, is that when you make games, you basically use uh either have to use other people's art, which means that you're either very limited in what you're doing, or you are uh you're very limited in what you're doing, or you have to kind of mix and match art styles, which doesn't look great. Because sometimes like sprites will have like an outline on the border or whatever, and then sometimes they won't. So it just looks like very strange, and it's fine if you're doing that intentionally, like if you're making a stylistic choice, but then you're gonna keep the same style because otherwise, like when you don't have the same style, it just doesn't look good. And I mean, yeah, that is kind of annoying. That's kind of it was a big roadblock for me for a long time because I just never felt like my art was ever good. So that was basically the problem I had, and then I didn't even bother with music or sound effects really. But that probably would have been an issue too if I had ever gotten to that. But I just never really was able to get another project off the ground like that. And part of what made that cookie clicker game also simple for me was that I was just photoshopping. Like I would just go on Google, find some random image, and just Photoshop, my friend's face on it or whatever. That was all I had to do. But with making like a pixel art game or something, you have to actually make the art, and that's hard. That takes time. So I haven't really been able to make many games since then. And it kind of sucks. Because that's the way I feel I learn the best. Because it kind of is more engaging than just making some random program or something that, does this sort of calculation. I haven't really been able to get into programming the way I want to. Like, you'll see people where, let's say they want to be an artist, right? They have like a whole portfolio of like things that they've made, all the things they've drawn, showcasing different styles they can do or whatever. And then that like for a programmer, you'd want to have some programs that you can showcase and be like, yeah, I made this thing that, like, for example, maybe I made a thing that randomizes items in a game so that people can kind of experience it in a different way or something like that. Or I made this program that takes files and it kind of sorts them based on this or whatever. And then obviously, you make games. You could be like, hey, I made this game and it is something I made entirely by myself and whatever. But it's just hard. I guess I know a lot of people say game jams. I honestly that's probably a good topic for another video too, to be honest, because I just struggle with doing anything that's like kind of public. When you have to like go through the effort to join something, that's something I always have a really hard time doing. Because I don't know, I guess I'm just shy. Something. I struggle a lot with that. Like I think did I ever, I don't know if I ever oh no, I know the video I'm talking about. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I might at some point. When I made a video, I think I was gonna call it my send button doesn't work or something, my send button's bugged or something like that, where just like I have a hard time sending messages. And I mentioned that I tend to struggle with like public discords. Like I never really got into the public discord thing like a lot of people do. Because I just think public discords are kind of weird in a sense. But like it's probably not that bad. I think it's also just me being a weird person, I guess, and being afraid to join public discords or public things. I probably should do like a game jam thing at some point when I get a little more comfortable. But I mean, I'll go back to that later. But I don't really have time to do that anymore either. But um, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people said the game jam thing. Maybe I should. Maybe I just need to get over that fear. But it's also, I think part of the problem I have too is I will, for example, I'll be, doing a passion. God, I've said a bunch of times. Not as bad as the driving video, but still pretty bad. But I'll be doing some sort of project I'm passionate about. I just said it again. What's wrong with me? But I'll be doing some sort of passion project, put a bunch of hours into it, and then eventually something derails it. Maybe I have to go to a party one day, or I just go. God damn it! This video's derailed so hard. What the fuck is going on anymore? What the fuck is happening? But I'll have some sort of thing that derails it, and then I don't get back into it for a couple days, and then I have a hard time picking it back up, and then I never pick it up again, and then it just stays dead. It's happened a bunch of times, and doesn't feel great when it does. So that's something I have a problem with, and then I'll come back to it, or I'll come back and try something new, try to make a new game, and then the same thing just happens all over again. It just keeps fucking happening. I just keep starting to make something, and then I stop, and then I never come back. And I also, every time I do it, I feel like I have to start from square one all over again. Just start back from the basics. And it's like I don't need to do that, because it's not like this. It's not like the stuff that I'm learning just vanishes if I don't use it for a couple months. It's still in my brain. I might need a little. I said again, and I said it before too. It's still in my brain, but it just has to kind of be refreshed, I guess. Best way to say it. I just don't feel like I can just jump into something. It's hard, but maybe I gotta just commit to the game jam thing or something. Either that, or I gotta start finding basic programs to do and then try to make more complex ones from that. I don't know. It's hard to just have the inspiration to do something, and it's something I always struggle with a lot. And it also doesn't help. Before, I had a lot of time, but I didn't have the passion, and I didn't have ideas. And now I kind of have the passion, or I kind of have the passion, and I have ideas. But the problem is I don't have the time. I traded one for the other. And now it's like, fuck. What do I do? Which, honestly, that's the thing I like about art, is I feel like with art, I don't have to work on it that hard. I mean, I guess with a game, you just work on it for 30 minutes a day or something. Eventually it's going to be a full game. But I just like being able to do art because I can do it in quick bursts. I can just take 30 minutes. Sometimes I get home from work. Last night I got home from work. I was watching the BO7 reveal stuff because they did that cinematic, which, by the way, that cinematic looked pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Zombies heading in a decent direction potentially. We'll see. But getting off that though, I'm not here to talk about Zombies. I watched that for 30 minutes, and then I decided to do my some pixel art and stuff, which I think turned out okay. But I like that if I'm not feeling it, I can just do something kind of simple, and then if I want to go for it, I just make something cool. I make something big. But with programming, I kind of don't feel that same way. It feels harder to jump into something. And it feels like if I jump into something and work on it for 10 minutes, it doesn't feel great. Whereas with art, I mean, if I just jump in and make something in 10 minutes real quick, it's still something. But if I jump into a game that I'm working on and I work on it for 10 minutes, maybe I make a couple changes, a couple lines of code or whatever, and that's fucking it. So I just feel like it's honestly harder to get into programming at times. But I probably should, because it's something I like doing. As I said before, it's not like I hate it. It's not like I'm forcing myself to do it because I have to be a nerd, so I have to know how to code, and I have to know how to, I have to be a fucking computer science major, something like that. I I remember when I was a kid, I was always like, yeah, I want to be like a programmer. I want to work at like Nintendo, which, I was gonna say probably doesn't sound great to work at Nintendo, but actually it probably is probably good to work at Nintendo. I feel like Nintendo, say what you will about Nintendo, obviously they fucking suck for consumers, but I feel like they treat their employees decently well. They don't crunch their employees. Like it's not like you're working for Activision or EA or whatever. You're working for a company that honestly kind of respects its employees, seemingly, at least more than other companies. They probably do some shitty thing. I think there was actually some shitty things they did with like contractors for like their QA testers or whatever. But generally speaking, I feel like they treat their employees pretty good. And I mean, you look at like Iwata, for example, when the Wii U was failing and like their company was kind of fucked. He just went and cut his own salary so he didn't have to cut the salaries of other people. I know Iwata, it's been, God, is it? It's been like a decade since Iwata, or was it? Was it a decade? No, it's almost a decade, I think, since Iwata passed, which sucks. But anyway, that's not supposed to be the point of this video. Uh, what was I gonna say? Yeah, but I think it is. I think it is a decent place to work. Then again, I mean, I'm not really. I was thinking like, yeah, I want to make games back then, but now it's like, I don't know if I'd want to make games for a living because I feel like you don't get paid that much. First off, despite doing what is honestly a much harder job, and on top of that, you uh, I mean, you just have to work harder. I feel like making games is harder than making some random fucking software, and it doesn't pay enough. You're basically just doing it for the love of it, and you don't really get the recognition, and sometimes you just get shit on for it too. So that's why I'm not really into that anymore. But I always kind of like wanted to be a coder, but I never really knew how to, and then I finally learned a little bit in like middle school. I learned that tiny bit from that Minecraft tutorial, and then carried on to high school, and then high school I actually started learning shit, and then I ended up where I've ended up. And I think I think I'm okay when it comes to coding, but I think part of the problem I have is that other people are just way more passionate than me about it. And I kind of feel like I've fallen behind in that aspect. Even when I was in college, like I would see some people where they're fucking really smart and they're really good at coding, you know? And I was like, fuck. I'm not even at one of the greatest colleges ever. I mean, it's a decent college, don't get me wrong. But it's not like I'm at fucking, I don't know, Harvard. It's not like I'm at some crazy uh college where you have all these like really cool people. I'm just stuck at like this whatever college, and like I'm still getting surpassed by people, and that made me go like, you know, maybe I oh, god damn it, campfire. Random campfire notification. Fuck, what was I saying? Uh, oh yeah, but like, being at that college and feeling like I was kind of outclassed by some people, it's like, fuck. I mean, I'm probably better than average, but, like, I'm not exceptional. If that makes any sense. So that's why I kind of felt a little discouraged, maybe. But yeah, generally speaking, I I just I have a hard time programming. I really do. And it's not like it's something I don't want to do, but I guess it's something that I yeah, I guess I would say it's not something I don't want to do. It's just something, or it's not something that I really want to do. So that's kind of my problem I have with it. And I don't entirely know how to fix it, to be honest. Maybe I just need to find some, like, some videos. Some videos on, like, I took a 30-day challenge for making a game and this happened. That was what happened with pixel art. That's how it started with pixel art, and now, like, I've been drawing and I feel like I'm drawing okay. And even outside of pixel art, I've just been drawing and I feel like I'm getting better with it. So that's a whole other topic for another day. This video's gone all over the place. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. My ultimate point is just that it's weird because I would like to do that as my career, but it's hard. I guess also I've kind of had some second guesses in a sense when it comes to that idea for my career, because I like the concept of programming a lot. As I said before with the whole puzzle thing, like, it feels like you're solving a puzzle. It feels good to get to that solution, to see everything work. But the problem I also kind of have is that you're not really moving when you do programming. I mean, I guess you can get one of those walking treadmills you put on your desk or whatever. But I don't really like that fact, because where I'm working now, it is like you are constantly busy. Whenever you're not helping a customer, you got to be doing something else. You got to be cleaning something. You got to be, putting something away, uh, getting more materials, something like that. You're always doing something. And it kind of sucks because, for example, today I'm so fucking tired. The past 2 days were so draining, but I did get through it, so at least there's that, and I felt like I did okay. But the past 2 days were really draining, and that kind of sucks in the short term a little bit. But it also, I like it because I like feeling like I'm busy. I feel like that is something that feels really rewarding in the long term. I guess it also helps. I can get a I can get more physically fit, I guess. Sometimes slicing stuff, it's tough, especially when you have to shred. And, like, I was shredding yesterday, and I had to not only, oh my god, my arm is kind of sore actually. I was gonna, like, kind of do the motion, but oh my god, Jesus. But when you're slicing and you're doing shredding, sometimes you gotta push a little bit on the arm. So it is like, it is tough on the arms, just to leave it at that. Fuck, man, my arms are kind of sore. But I like a job that kind of keeps me active, and that kind of makes me think, fuck, Maybe I shouldn't be a programmer. But then if I'm not gonna be a programmer, what the fuck am I gonna do? I like being able to use my brain, you know? I like being able to solve something and get the satisfaction of I fucking did this and I, spend like weeks trying to think of the solution, but I found out this perfect solution and it works great and everybody's happy. Something like that. But I don't know. I got a little like black pilled for a little bit on AI stuff because I had this problem for a little bit where I was encoding my videos in H2 or H.265 and I didn't have like the codec or whatever to get it in my editing software. And so it was kind of making my editing software freak out. So I had to convert it to H.264. And the thing is, I didn't know how to do that. So I just went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, can you write me a Windows batch script that'll just convert a video file from H.265 to H.264 with like the same encoding settings? It's just like, sure, here you go. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just try running it, which you probably shouldn't try. You probably shouldn't just auto run stuff that comes from ChatGPT. It's probably not the best idea, but I did. And you know what happened? It actually just worked. And I was like, fuck. My job isn't going to be safe in the future. Like that's something that is kind of scary. Because it's like, okay, you might be coding now, but eventually AI is probably just going to be able to code things in the future. And probably won't be perfect, but it'll probably be pretty damn good. And in fact, it might even be better than humans at some point. Who knows? And I was like, shit. But I will say that I think the thing I never realized when I was initially thinking that is that it's not like you're just a programmer when you're getting a computer science degree. Like you're kind of a generalist and then you get specialized in whatever job you get for training and all that. But you can, like, the degree kind of says, like, hey, yeah, I can kind of do general stuff in this field, not just, I know exactly how to code this and that's it. So, maybe not as much of a reason to be black-pilled about that, but I still kind of thought that for a little bit. But I guess I should probably wrap this up. How long? Oh my god, it's been going on forever. Jesus Christ. But anyways, overall, I don't really know what else to say. A lot of people like to say learn to code. And I think it's kind of a dumb thing because you need the mindset. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna code because it makes me money. Because you're, number one, you're gonna fucking hate it. And number two, you're not gonna understand it super well, I think, ultimately, compared to a person that actually wants to do it and, enjoys the sort of thing. I think that learn to code is not really what holds people back in that sense, because I feel like anybody can realistically learn to code, but it's more about the mindset, and I feel like I've not really had the right mindset for it in that sense. Maybe I just need to approach it differently. I'm not sure, because I do generally like it, but ultimately, I don't fucking know. All I know is that I have a hard time programming sometimes. Well, not sometimes, all the time. And I've never really finished anything, which I think is a problem. Maybe Game Jams will fix that. Who knows? Maybe I'll give it a shot someday and then I can make a video about it. That'd probably be pretty cool. But anyways, I don't think I really have anything else to say. But I guess the one thing I will say is if you are someone who is trying to get in the industry, you're trying to get in the field of computer science, it's probably better to start early rather than starting later. And I mean, you can start later. You can obviously, pivot. Let's say your career sucks or whatever, or you don't like what you're doing in college and you pivot to computer science. Not a big of a deal, but I would say the sooner you start, the better. That's ultimately what I think. That's what I learned. I I kind of wish I had been programming earlier. Then again, I uh I was not very uh willing to do that in my earlier years. We'll just say that. That's a whole other can of worms for another time that I don't even want to bother talking about now. But anyways, I think I am probably done. I'm probably going to go do something else. So I guess that's it.